When somebody says the best draft class ever, usually the ones that are immediately brought up are 1984, which had Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, and John Stockton. 1996, which featured Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, Ray Allen, and Steve Nash, and 2003, which had LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. These three are generally the consensus best three draft classes of all time. But then there's 2009, which, in my opinion, is the second best draft class of the century so far. What is up with it, everybody? My name is Luke, and in this video, let's talk about the 2009 NBA draft class. First, let's start with some numbers. The 2009 draft class had 6 different All-Star players. For some extra context, the 2003 class had 9, so just off by a little bit, but still well above average, which is usually about 3 per draft class. Additionally, the 2009 draft class also had 4 All-NBA players, and that's the same number as the 2003 class. So comparison-wise, already looking pretty good. First, let's talk about the best players of this draft class, starting with the number 1 pick, Blake Griffin. This hyper-athletic power forward brought people a ton of excitement with his flashy dunks and high hops, as well as having great court vision for a big man. Sadly, he's had a rather injury-prone career, but has proven to be really good when healthy. A major weakness of his game before was that his scoring ability was incredibly one-dimensional, but his three-point shot developed really well over the years, and now has been a capable stretch four who can still play inside, when he's healthy of course. Aside from injuries, he's had a very solid career with good averages, as well as receiving 6 All-Star selections and 5 All-NBA selections. James Harden, the 3rd pick of the draft, one of the main big generational talents that this draft class had. Of course, he spent his early career as a 6th man with OKC, and was part of the young core on that team with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Then later he was traded to the Rockets, where he blossomed into a superstar, and is one of the greatest scorers that the world has ever seen. I'd say that he's the 4th best shooting guard ever, but he could potentially rise the ranks if he can add things to his resume, namely at least a championship. His resume definitely speaks for itself, as he's been the best shooting guard in the league for the past 5-6 years or so. The other generational talent of this draft, Steph Curry, who was selected 7th overall, and everybody knows about him. He's the greatest shooter of all time, and a generational icon who revolutionized the game with his shooting, and in my opinion is the 2nd greatest point guard ever, behind Magic Johnson. The 2-time MVP and 3-time champion has set a bunch of records, and will probably break a few more by the time he retires, like the number of threes made in his career, for example. Some other things that he holds right now, and will likely remain unbroken, at least for some time, are number of threes made in one season, and consecutive games with the 3 he made. DeMar DeRozan, the 10th pick of the draft, who has been solid and steady throughout his career. His resume is pretty good, with 4 All-Star selections and 2 All-NBA selections, and will continue to be a decent contributor in the NBA, regardless of what team he's on. Of course, I'll always knock on him for not being able to shoot threes, but oh well, still pretty good of a player. Jrue Holiday, the 17th pick, has been a great two-way combo guard in the NBA so far. He's only made 1 All-Star game in 2013, but honestly, a big reason why is because he got really good during his last season in Philadelphia, before getting traded to New Orleans, and the West competition is just too strong. I truly believe that he was an underrated player for a while, but to be fair, he did have a few injury-riddled seasons when he first joined the Pelicans. He'd definitely be a perennial All-Star in the East, and he's shown to be top-notch defensively as well. The winner of the Rookie of the Year was Tyreke Evans, who had an incredible rookie season, becoming the 4th ever rookie to average 25 and 5. But of course, getting drafted by the Kings never ends well, and Evans was no exception. He had a few other stints with teams like New Orleans, Memphis, and Indiana, before getting suspended by the NBA for violating the NBA anti-drug policy. Next, let's get to some of the other notable first-round picks. Brandon Jennings, the 9th pick of the draft, who went pro in Italy after high school, then joined the NBA, was an intriguing player. His scoring numbers looked decent on paper, but his efficiency was awful, and he's probably well known for saying that the Bucks would beat the Heat in 6 games in 2013. Honestly, it's not surprising at all that he's no longer in the NBA, as he tore his Achilles in 2015 and was much worse than his normal self after, but he wasn't that good to begin with. It is a shame though, because he was playing his best basketball that season when it happened. Lawson, the 18th pick of the draft, who was a borderline all-star in Denver, averaging 14 and 7 with the Nuggets. But then he became an alcoholic, and that pretty much ended his NBA career. It is a shame to see him go out like that. Teague, the 19th pick from Wake Forest, who took a little bit of time to develop, but became a very capable starting point guard. He played most of his career in Atlanta, being named an All-Star in 2015, but also briefly spent time in Indiana and Minnesota. Now he's a backup to Trae Young, but I do think he'll get a decent contract offer this coming offseason, as he is still capable of playing at a solid level. Darren Collison, the 21st overall pick, who was teammates with Holiday at UCLA, having spent 4 seasons there. He has been both a starting and bench point guard in this league, and was solid at it too, having stints with the Hornets, Pacers, Clippers, and Kings. He did recently retire to focus on his faith, but during his time in the NBA proved to be a good player. Collison was also a good shooter, even leading the league in 3-point percentage in the 2017-18 season, with an insane 47% from 3. Now let's move on to the best second round players of this draft class. Patrick Beverley, the 42nd overall pick, infamous for being loved by those on his team but hated by those not on his team. Beverley spent a few years overseas before joining the Rockets in 2012 and is known for his hustle and defense. Now he's on the Clippers, again being a key player for that team, bringing the energy and the defensive mindset for the team. Danny Green, the 46th overall pick that many people should recognize as one of the better 3-and-D players in this league. He was actually part of the UNC championship team in 2009 as a senior, but he did spend most of his early years in the G League before becoming a key role player for the Spurs, helping them win a title in 2014, as well as helping the Raptors capture their first ever in 2019. Patty Mills, the 55th overall pick, who is best known for being the Spurs' backup point guard for many years. He's established himself as a very solid player and shooter, and has shined in his bench role. Now let's talk about the notable undrafted players. Wesley Matthews, a shooting guard who spent 4 years at Marquette. He actually had a very great start to his career, especially considering that he was undrafted, becoming a solid scorer at the wing who could also shoot the 3 at a very solid rate. But unfortunately, he tore his Achilles in 2015 and lost a lot of his scoring prowess as a result. However, he was and still is a good shooter, and has still been doing a very solid job of fulfilling a 3-and-D role. Joe Ingles, this Australian player, has had some solid contributions with the Jazz. He's a really good shooter, and a pretty diverse player at the small forward position. He didn't play his first NBA game until 2014, but since has improved into a quality starting wing. Aaron Baines, another Australian, who's been a decent role player. His career stats aren't anything impressive. The thing is, he's still found his place in this league and proven that he does belong. Garrett Temple, the wing who's currently on the Nets. He's played for several teams in his career, and while isn't anything super special, has still found his niche as a bench player that brings the hustle. Finally, let's go over some other notable players in this draft that you might recognize. Ricky Rubio, Jordan Hill, Gerald Henderson, Tyler Hansbrough, James Johnson, Omri Caspi, Taj Gibson, DeMar Carroll, Wayne Ellington, Tony Douglas, DeJuan Blair, Jonas Jerebko, Jody Meeks, Marcus Thornton, and of course, the legendary number 2 pick, none other than Hasheem Thabeet. Anyway, that does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications. Let me know who your favorite players from this draft class are. And with that, I'm out. See you guys next time.